All right, hello everybody. So today I'm going to give you a different talk than usual. I usually have talks with slides, but today I have no slides at all. So I already got some introduction. So my name is Eduardo. You can find me around as Posva, which is my handle. And I'm the author of Vue.js and Pinia. But today I'm talking about something else. I'm talking about another project I wrote, which is VueFire. So VueFire is an integration between Vue and Firebase. Now, VueFire compared to Firebase, it's really not that exciting in terms of the complexity for the Firebase platform. But my hope today is to give you some idea of how it works and makes you excited on how to use it. So we're going to build together some kind of collaborative emoji. So using the real-time database and the authentication features of Firebase. So this is more or less how it's going to look at the end. We're going to have some kind of grid where you're going to click and you can put an emoji somewhere in the grid. Now, right now we don't have anything. So I'm going to show you the code. I still created the project beforehand just in case, because there are a few styles that I want to have applied just so it doesn't look too bad. And so we can not focus on the CSS while we create the project. So right now what I have, it's a Nuxt project. So we're going to use Nuxt as well for these. And we have two pages, a home page and a login page. And then we haven't added much. We have some composables to make life easier and an app bar. So what I'm going to do is show you this application, create the Firebase project, and integrate it into this plain application. So I'm going to start by creating the project because I might take some time. I'm going to call this emoji panel. Hopefully, the project is not taken. Let's just take. We don't need an account for this. We can maybe disable the analytics. We don't need them. All right. So we're going to create a project. I'm going to copy the credentials, and I'm going to keep an eye on the comments as well, just in case. Okay, if anything goes wrong. So, what is inside the project? Inside the project, we have really not much. You're going to see that the Nuxt config is pretty much empty. It only has a title and some CSS applied, as I said. The index is pretty much empty. It has some style that we're not going to touch. And we have just a title, some dimensions for the grid, and just the title on the page. The login page, pretty much the same, very empty. And those are the pages we're going to touch today. So, and that's also the navbar, but the navbar is also pretty straightforward. So if we run the development server and we go to the page, because this thing is still, oh no, it's created. So we're going to see this is what we have. Okay, so we have an emoji panel here empty and the login page empty. And the idea is we're going to build this, deploy it, and at the end, you will be able to also play with the real-time database with me. So first thing I need to do is to configure the application. Firebase has a lot of things. So I'm just going to go a little bit fast on these. I'm going to set up Firebase hosting. Yeah, just this one, register the app. And I need to do one last thing is set the default GCP something. This, I'm going to copy it because I will need it. They are not private credentials. I wouldn't be showing them on screen otherwise. Okay, so continue to the project page, and I need to set this. Otherwise, I'm going to get some weird errors, and it's difficult to debug. I'm in Europe, so I'm going to set that to Europe. All right, I also need to probably activate the Firestore database, which is the real-time database we are going to use. Now, Firebase has two databases. One is real-time database, and the other one is Firestore. Both are real-time, and they have different usage cases. And they have a page in documentation explaining which one you should pick. All right. So let's see. All right, what happened here? This shouldn't be the case. Okay, this shouldn't be the case. Let me just go real quick. Otherwise, I have another project set up just in case. Why is this not allowing me to have the things? See. All right, I think I have an issue with the project, but that's fine. I'm going to use another one. It doesn't change much. So I'm going to use one that is already set up. How does it look like? Usually it creates the database. So I have some test collections here. I'm going to use all the names. And it tells you, hey, what are the security rules you want to use for these database? So by default, you don't have all these. You only have something that tells you, hey, you can write or not on all documents. So what I'm going to say is do something real unsafe. I'm going to allow writing and reading any document on the database. This is, of course, only for development purposes. I wouldn't be using this in a real project. Usually do update the configuration. So I'm going to copy the configuration of this project instead, because I'm going to need it afterwards. And I'm going to head over the project here, and I'm going to install the different packages I need. These are VueFire. There are a bunch. Next, VueFire, Firebase, Firebase admin, and Firebase app types. Now, the last one, it's only because we're doing SSR. So they're just going to improve the compatibility of things. If you're not using Nuxt, you don't need to use this one. And of course, Nuxt VueFire. So let's add all of them. And now we're going to add the project to the configuration. So here we have a modules array, and we should be able to do Nuxt VueFire. Now, if I do this, and I save, I should be able to do the VueFire, and it should give me the completion. It doesn't have that completion. This is the one I was trying to use. Okay, let's format all of these into seconds and see. So starting Nuxt. Let's restart Nuxt just in case. All right, now everything is looking good. No more errors. So I just copied the config I had on my project here. So I'm using this one. I'm going to close it. And I'm going to use this one. So I just copied this information so I can have access to everything offered by Firebase. So from here, I'm going to just start creating my grid. So the grid, not this one. The grid is going to be very simple. We're going to use an emoji grid. So I have these classes already created. Emoji button.emoji. All right. And I need to iterate over something, but I'm going to do that later. Okay. So the idea is, check here. We're going to initially maybe just go for the size before, and let's say it's an index in width height. All right. I'm going to just display the position here. So let's see what we got. We got the grid. It looks awful, but that's normal. We're not supposed to display numbers like that. And also you notice that the numbers are quite big. So I'm going to remove that. There you go. Just want the grid like that. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to display the emojis. But before displaying the emojis, I kind of need to create some of them. So I'm going to write the function to create an emoji. So I'm going to say function create emoji. And it's probably in a position. So position a number. Now, in here, what we're going to do is use the Firebase API. So we have different functions to create documents in Firebase. One of them is add_doc. Now, add_doc, here as you can see, comes from PyStore, allows us to reference a collection and say the document we want to push. In order to do that, we're going to need a collection reference, which is the thing that Copilot here is proposing. So I need to specify which collection we're pushing to, right? So we're gonna say panel emojis, red. We're gonna use a collection, again, importing from Firestore, and we have to say, we have to pass the database instance and then specify an index. Now I'm gonna use a temporary index for this because I want to iterate a little bit with authentication first, and I need to get access to the database. Now, the next VueFire plugin actually creates database for you, so you don't need to do much. Everything is going to be implemented. So Firestore, nope, we actually get use Firestore. So this function, as you can see, is automatically imported. You don't even need to add to the imports, and this gives you access to the Firestore instance, the database. The Firestore application is created already because we use the plugin, and so these should give us access to a collection. Now, this collection doesn't exist, but that's okay. Now, what we can do here is that we're going to add an emoji to the collection. So here we can add absolutely anything we want. Now, we're going to create a type as well to make it typed, but initially we're going to make it something very simple. We're going to say content. We're going to put just a random, yeah, why not? Let's put the hello hand, and then we're going to add the post as well. And we can even create, if we want, create to that and say server timestamp. So this is a special function that allows to specify the creation date. Since the user is not really able to specify the creation date, we are telling the server to create that creation date for us, right? So that's why we have that. All right, so just with these, we should be able to here say click, create emoji, and pass the position. Okay. Now we're gonna see if we have errors or not. Okay, we don't have any errors. That's a good sign. And now what we're gonna do is go to the database here, and we see that we have our collection TMP here, and we should have one document, which is exactly what I created right now. And the position, it's a one-dimensional index. So just simpler to hold. We could also use XY, but the way I created my my array doesn't make sense. So now that I have some emojis, I can create more if I want. They are all hands. I can see that they're probably appearing here. Now I want to display them. So how do I do that? I'm going to use the VueFire use collection. So when I say use collection, and as you can see, it's already there. And I can pass the reference of the collection. And here I can say that I get the emoji or panel emojis. All right, so this is going to be a ref of an array with no specific shape. But now, if I want, I could display here the actual emoji. So what I'm going to do is just debug a little bit here to show you what I have. And I'm going to just display, no, that's not a good one. Panel emojis. I'm going to just display the raw data. All right. So as you can see here, now we have the data here. And if I click somewhere, I add a new one. Okay. So of course, I'm not going to display the data like that. I want to display that on the grid. Now we have one problem, and that's the fact that the grid has a fixed amount of numbers. A fixed number of elements, and this array can be incremented by size at any time. Of course, we're probably going to change how we create emojis later, but that's after authentication. So what I need is to create a version that is always the same size. So I'm going to say emoji list, or the thing is later we're going to create them by date, emoji or panel emoji grid, so to say. And we're going to make it computed. We're going to say, so this is a little bit weird. Yeah, this is pretty much the code. So we need a grid. We don't need, it's not with new, but we're going to say array, and we're going to have the size specified right there. So that creates an array with empty elements. And then we're going to just fill the correct positions, which it's emoji. So here we're going to go through every single emoji, and we're going to use the position. That's enough. to put the actual emoji there. So this should give us a different kind of array, and we should be able to, oh, we should return it, by the way, otherwise it's not gonna work. Return, great. So this should give us access to the proper array. It's going to be panel emoji great. All right, so let's see what we have. Still nothing, probably messed up something here. All right, let's see. Yeah, this is not correct. Now we have emoji and I. All right, so because now we have the array, I is still gonna be the position, but I still want to display the emoji, so I'm gonna do emoji.content. Now we have no autocompletion yet, but we're gonna fix that later. Okay, so we have some errors. Let's see, content, so probably not the right thing. Let me debug this real quick. All right, DevTools failing, good news. Let me restart this. All right. I'm gonna debug the old way, make that free here. Panel emoji. What do I have here? Let's just comment this out for the moment. All right. So we have no and extra, of course, didn't see. This is the good thing about having TypeScript is that I could see these errors more easily. So I'm gonna add that TypeScript instead. I'm gonna show you how easy it is. And what I need is create a type for my panel emoji, right? So I'm gonna say panel emoji, and we need a content string. Yeah, that's exactly what we have, except for date. We need the content, which is the emoji, the position, which is the number, and created that is actually a timestamp, which comes from Firestore. We are also going to add an ID, which is added by Firebase automatically. And here we just need to say, hey, this is the type of the collection. And now here the panel emoji is going to be with the correct type. Now I'm not sure. Yeah, this computer is not going to have the correct type because the grid is not correctly typed. Now the grid is going to be an array of panel emoji or undefined, since we start with an empty array, right? So that should be good. Yeah. And now here I should have some TypeScript errors. There we go. Now that we have the emoji can be known. So here, content should be much better. And now, there we go. We have the emojis here. I can click and add stuff. It's completely messing up the display because I have the press here. Remove that. There we go. So I can add the emojis. Anyways. All right, so this is okay, but this is not how we want to go. We want to allow each user to create only one emoji. So that means that we need to handle some kind of authentication. Now, this is actually easier than it looks like. We're going to go to the Nuxt config. We're going to say here auth true. So this is going to add the authentication module. I know it looks a little bit dumb to say auth true, but the idea is that not every project needs authentication. So if you don't activate it, it's not included. Now, the authentication is already activated, so I won't be able to actually show you all of these. But the idea here is signing method, we can enable Google. Now, it's very easy to enable Google because it just works out of the box within a Firebase project, but you can also do GitHub and other things with new providers, as you can see here. And we can also add anonymous, which we're going to use later. Now, let's handle these in the login page. So the login page, I'm going to see that it's very easy to create the authentication. We're going to go to here, and we're going to create just a little button to say signing. So here, button, we're going to say click, and we're going to call some function signing and say, let's start by signing with Google. All right, so we're going to see that we need a function called sign in with redirect, or pop-up also works. Now, this function takes a few arguments that we don't have here. So we're going to create them afterwards. We have auth, and we need a provider, which is going to be the Google Auth provider instance. Now, I don't have them, but as you can see, it's very easy to create them. So auth, how do we get that? We're going to use Firebase auth. This comes from the VueFire package, and we need to actually tell TypeScript that it's not going to be null. It's a little bit more complicated, so that will be for another time. And we also need to create a provider. So we're going to create a Google Auth provider. We're going to import that from the Firebase auth module. and we should be ready to go actually. So if I do these, I can try to also get the current user. And so we can say user, I think, use current user. Now this function from Firebase, from VueFire again, is as the current user, which can be null or undefined. So here I'm going to do a template. I'm going to say, if we have a user, we are going to display some of the user information. So for example, we can say you are currently logged in as, and we can say, and I could just put an image here. It's much better. Image, and I'm going to say user.photo URL, which can be null. That's why it's complaining there. We're going to remove the avatar, and we do need one specific thing here is the refer policy, no refer. Otherwise, we're going to get errors from the Google images because that's how it works. And I have some classes prepared just so it doesn't look too bad. And we're going to end up by adding, we don't even need a span here, but whatever. User.displayName. So this depends on how it works, how we're logged in. Let's try this out. We should, because they're already logged in with the application, I don't see anything. Usually you will see a screen saying, hey, this is the first time you're logging in with the app with Google. So I don't see that because I already did it. But as you can see here, I'm currently logged in. That's pretty cool. And I have my picture that comes from my Google account and my full name as well. Okay, so we can also add anonymous authentication, which is the case where these photo URLs can be null. And it's very easy, actually. We can here button sign in anonymously. Always not sure about the spelling all the time about this word. And so we have a function sign in anonymously. There we go. And we only need to pass the auth. And so we can also add a logout button. So we can do these here probably. Here button logout. Display around logout. It's sign out, sign off, sign out. There we go. And we also need to pass the auth instance. And that's pretty much it. We can log out now, and I can sign in anonymously. Of course, I don't have any information when I sign in anonymously. So I'm going to use a small little thing here. Now I need to copy this URL from somewhere else. I'm just going to generate the avatars of the anonymous people based on the UID. So this will always give me the same avatar for all the anonymous users, or each anonymous user a different avatar. So it looks a little bit better, anonymous. All right, how much time do I have left? Let's see, it's 20 minutes in, I think. Okay, I'm gonna hurry up. Oops. So here, as you can see, I have a generated anonymous profile. I can generate another one by signing in with another profile. So probably need to log out first. And now there we go, another one. Okay, so now that we have that, we can add the document for each user. So how do we do that? We go to the index here, and we're gonna say, hey, here, we also want to get the current user. So we can actually say const user equals use current user, same as before. And now we're gonna say, so we could say, you might be thinking that we're gonna use here the creator and specify the UID of the user, but that's not how we're gonna make it in Firebase. Instead, so I'm gonna change these to use a different database or collection. Instead, what we're gonna say is that we're gonna create the document based off our ID. So the ID of the document will be the same as our user ID. And that allows us also to control who is able to write or not from that ID. Now, I think that if I do this, yeah, I activated all the rights, so it should be fine. We're going to do, let me see real quick. We're going to change add doc. So instead of adding a document, we have to set a document with a specific ID. And so the easier way to make these is to actually create a computer property from our own emoji that we created. So my emoji equals, I computed. Now we're going to say doc. So this is a function to create a document from file store. And we're going to pass the rest of the collection. And then if we have a user value, we can pass it. Now, the thing is, we still need to do this. So if we have a user, then we create a document. Otherwise, we don't create a document. So this is going to be either a document reference or no. And now we can pass that anywhere we want. So here we are going to say, instead of add doc, set doc. And set doc, here we can say my emoji value. Now it's going to complain. It's going to complain because as you can see here, well, it can be null, so that's not possible. So we're going to say here, if there is no user or there is no my emoji.value, we return. Now this is mostly just making it more convenient. Also, the type is not really correct. So here, I'm going to have to leave it this way for the moment, but that's okay. So here we're going to set the doc, and we're going to use the same as before. We're going to use the content, the position, and the create data. Now, what we want is to pass the display name here. This is just to make our lives easier. And the photo URL as well. So let's pass the photo URL as well. The important thing is the ID. The ID of the image is here. It's the UID of the user, which is a unique ID for each user. So that means that each user will have their own emoji set. So what else do we have here? The content. I want to make these randomizable, so I'm going to use a small composable I created. Use randomize emoji. Okay. So this gives me an emoji and a randomize function. And here I can just say emoji value. And then I can just add a button to make it randomizable again. So that's going to be this here. Button dot emoji. We can say emoji dot value. Emoji just without a value. And here, click randomize. I think that should be it, right? Probably don't need anything else. Maybe make it a little bit bigger, probably. So I'm just going to make it a font size. It's a little bit bigger. Okay, so what do we have here? All right. So now we can choose the emoji and we can create them. And as you can see, I can only create one because I have the ID associated with the actual document. So this is great, but we need to change a few things as well. We can say, let me see. We can see who has created an emoji. And we also need to probably change how we display the emojis, because right now, if I create one here, but then I create another account, if I click on it, you will see that nothing changes. I can create on the side. Well, let me just. Oh, it's a bit random, so it depends actually. But depending on how the order of the documents arrives, we're going to see one or the other. So we need to order them by creation date, which is why we have the create that, by the way. So that's also very easy. We just go to the use collection here, and we're going to pass a query. So the query comes from Firestore as well. We are going to pass the panel, the emoji ref, and then we're going to say, what do we want to order by? Now we want to order by here, create that. That's what we want. Why is created so many parentheses? And we want the order to be this. Okay. Is this everything we need? It is. All right. So I'm definitely wrong because right now I'm not in the right order. And this is because I probably messed up some of my logic here. Was it asked? Apparently it's asked. So that way we have the last emojis created at the end, and that way they are always added to the list, to the grid at the end, and they override the other one. Okay. So we have the creation. We can show who created the last one, for example. So we could say here const last emoji, and we take the last one. Yeah, this is pretty much the code. So we take the last one, we put it in, I compute it, and then we can let's put it here. The last created emoji is, and here we have last emoji.content by, and we're gonna add the image theme. So I'm just gonna copy here. There we go. And this is gonna be last emoji.photo URL. Oh, I need to update my types. That's why. Photo URL and otherwise the UID. So let's add, yeah, this is actually just last emoji ID, since we're using the same, the UID and the ID of the document to control who can create them. And so here, we're gonna say display name string. We can actually have a null property here. And photo URL is also string or null. So we're gonna have that as well. And now we should be able to see, if I fix the errors, reading on content. So it means that, yeah, initially this can be null because, and this is not tracked by TypeScript because when we access the array, it doesn't actually take into account that the array can be empty initially. So here we're gonna actually just put up the last emoji. There we go. Let's reload. We have a few hydration problems, but I think I won't be able to dive into that right now. And I probably need to put a class here in the avatar. Yeah. All right, so if I log out, sign in with Google, I can see that it changes here. Okay, what do I have? I have almost no time left, I think. I'm completely over time. So let's try to deploy these. I need to, we have the randomization. I wanted to add some animation. So the animation is just to make it funnier when we deploy it. So we're gonna just add it here. It shouldn't be a div, by the way, it should be a button. Transition, group. Okay, what happened here? We remove my div. Oh yeah, I don't need the div. And it creates the ending tag here. Okay, so let's see if this works. I need a key, of course, otherwise the Viewfire is not gonna work. I'm going to use the emoji ID or the index if it doesn't exist. And let's see, all right. So the animation is working. It's very simple animation, just so we can see what we have. And I wanted to add a middleware to show you authentication, but I think that I'm completely off time. Can you give me a signal on the chat, maybe, from the organization? I wish I had a timer, but I don't have a timer on the screen anywhere. No news. I'm gonna go for the deployment. So the deployment, the idea is Firebase has free and yeah. Hi, Jen.
Yeah, we're slightly over time, but okay. We want to definitely see what's going on with deployment and ask you a few questions. So, but just to give you a heads up.
Okay, let's go with the deployment. So I need to actually initialize my project. So I'm gonna go with Firebase init here. And I'm going to select the file store and the hosting. That's the only two features I want. I'm gonna put it here. I'm gonna use an existing project, which is this test one that I created and not the other one that I was supposed to use for the live demo. Then we're gonna just select some of the files. The public directory is not public, it's output/public. That's the one that Nuxt creates for us. We can or not reconfigure as a SPA because we're going to generate the file, so that doesn't really matter. And I'm not going to set up the automatic deployments. So that created a bunch of files, as you can see here. And normally we should be able to deploy these and show you. So Firebase, I'm gonna stop the server here. And the thing is, I probably have some hydration errors, so it's gonna fail. And I will need to fix that real quick. Shouldn't be too hard. Let me see. So it's saying that the last created emoji is this, which is probably because it's not waiting for some of the stuff. Since we have authentication, some of the authentication happens on the client side. What was this one? Okay, let's do a simple trick. We're going to use client only to avoid iteration error. All right, now we should have the iteration error. Yeah, it's because I didn't pass the SSR key to the use collection here. SSR key, panel emojis, and there we go. So no more errors. This has nothing to deal. Now we can generate it. So let's do generate, which is going to run Nuxt generate here. It's going to create a project. There we go. We can run a deploy. So Firebase deploy, and we can just do the hosting. I don't really want to deploy the Firestore rules because I already set them up on the server. And I'm going to actually copy some of the rules I have ready because I don't want to showcase the application with the rules that are too permissive. So the idea is I'm going to do false here. Oh, I should have changed the database. Let me do that. I think that's the name we gave it, right? Or is it test/3? Okay. So, oh yeah, I cannot use that. Will this work? Okay. So the idea is these are security rules. It goes way beyond the topic, but you won't be able to create more than one emoji every 5 seconds. That's the idea, just to avoid the spam, potential spam. And then everything else, well, you cannot do it unless you're logged in. So let's see if everything worked. We have the deployment complete. Is this working here? All right, so it seems that the application is deployed. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy paste these on the chat. So you can actually leave, like visit the website. And hopefully it doesn't break. I don't know if you're gonna test. You have to create an account, otherwise it's gonna give you an error. Now I wanted to create the middleware just to prevent users from entering the page, but I think that that's way too ambitious for 20 minutes. So here, if other people connect, oh no, missing or insufficient permissions. Did I publish the rights? Finally, I'm going to test 3. Let's see, real quick. Otherwise, I just set up in true. Do I have a typo somewhere? Maybe. No. All right, let's put the rights to true so that people can create some emojis now. And so if you create your own, you can see the animations happening here. Now, of course, I'm playing out with server rules here, but that you shouldn't be really playing with because I just allowed writing to the database, and I'm gonna remove it right after the talk. But as you can see here, people are testing, you're testing, some of you are testing out. I already tested, you already shared the link. Sorry, this is the deploy link, it's the same as the local because we're using the same database. So you can hide other people's emojis as well if you want. All right. I think we're gonna stop it here. I will share on Twitter and on the chat the source code for this repository with the actual authentication middlewares and few more features that I think I just couldn't be, I wasn't able to implement in only 20 minutes.
Well, thank you again for coming on today and talking to us. I know that there's definitely been a lot of questions that have come up, and we won't have time to answer them, ask you all of them, and have you answer them all today. Yet, big question, even before like what OS you're using, do you have a Twitch channel where we can like watch you code live? Because I feel like that was just so educational and yet like very calming as you're doing it. So do you have a
No,
Twitch channel?
I don't have a Twitch channel. I might do some collaboration with other people, but I don't think I really have the, the level to do some streaming yet. I need some practice probably.
All right, all right. Well, you did great today, so that's
Thank
what
you.
made me ask.
Thanks.
Now, in the survey or the poll that we're doing on Twitter, Mac is winning. So I'm curious, for you, is it what OS do you use?
Yeah, currently I use the Mac OS as well, just because it's
Okay.
easier to set up. It's for work though, but video games will always be Windows. And when I was a student, I used Linux because it was affordable. Mac is not really affordable. It's just because we have a job that we can buy one.
All right. All right. And I feel like I want to ask this question because I totally somehow had your questions up instead of Evan's. And I feel like I should be like, what, like there's a couple questions here, but what inspired you to build Vue instead of VueFire to make up for earlier's question confusion? But what what did
Yeah,
inspire you to
sorry.
build VueFire?
So I think, I don't know exactly who, I think Evan created the original version though.
Okay.
That was like 6 years ago. So probably the name comes from Firebase, who has all the packages named something fire. And to me, Firebase is pretty cool actually when you want to create just a project, a side project, because it offers a lot of features, the authentication, the real-time database, which open up a lot of possibilities, the hosting, and it has other features. So it's really easy to set up the whole project with the authentication and features that are usually difficult to set up. And I wanted a more idiomatic way to handle these real-time database with Vue. So as I showed on the talk, it's pretty straightforward. Just use something and you get something that you get a ref of a data that automatically updates. Yeah, the quota exceeded on the on the project. I'm gonna shut down just a second the rules. I'm gonna close it. There you go. So
Right.
yeah, that's it. Just having an idiomatic way to work with Firebase and Vue.
And can VueFire be used with Nuxt 2 or is it Nuxt 3 only?
It's Nuxt 3 only. I think it should work with Nuxt Breach, but I haven't tested out.
Okay, good to know. And do you know of any production applications that use VueFire?
Oh, I don't know the names. Some people, since the package has some time, the project is used in some projects, but I don't have the names, and I didn't ask permission to say to talk about them anyway. But I have people come up and say, "Hey, thanks for VueFire," and stuff. I don't think I don't think there are projects still using that yet. That are using VueFire 3 yet, because I released the version a few months ago.
All right, all right. And can someone connect multiple Firebase collections with their Vue.js application with VueFire?
Yeah, you can connect as many as you want. Then you're limited by the quota as well. This was on purpose. I think I exceeded my quota because it was. I purposely pushed that a little bit. But yeah, you can put any amount of collections you want, and you can use computer properties to just pass a collection reference that changes or a document that changes that I show with the user and the current emoji. And it just automatically reconnect to the correct collection or document.
Very cool. Thank you. And what is the name of the extension that gives the console output next to the lines?
Anthony gave me this info. It's error gutters, I think. Well, maybe not. Error lens. Yeah, error lens on VS Code.
And I mean, that brings us up to like our very next question of like your VS Code setup is incredible. Do you have like documentation of like all the extensions and plugins that you use for VS Code?
No, I don't think I have any. I don't think I have too much set up. I've seen other people have much better setups, like much more elaborated. Since it synchronizes with the VS Code have this sync thing now, I don't have it on GitHub anymore since I don't need it.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't have that many extensions actually.
Well, if you think of any, please tweet it out, and y'all make sure that you follow Eduardo and see if there's anything there. And then last question, where can we find the boilerplate code? Will you post the final project on Git somewhere?
All right. So actually there is a link in the source code. It's just that I didn't make it public. I wanted to make that on the stream, on the live coding, but I didn't have the time. I'm just pressing the button right now. Change to public. I want to make this public repository. All right. Okay, now it's public. I'm gonna still copy the link on the chat.
Perfect. And that was the last of the questions. And thank you, Eduardo, for coming on. If anybody has noticed, majority of us will, in our names, if I'm pointing in the right direction, will also have our Twitter handle. So that way we can see what's going on, any updates. And if anybody wants to contribute to the poll of what OS, I have a poll on mine as well. And maybe one day we'll convince Eduardo to start a stream or something, just so that way we can see him code live more. All right. Thank you again, Eduardo, for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. Bye.